All of southeast Quebec just caught on fire, guys. All of it. Insane. Insane. Look at that.
Yesterday, for example, a former Air Force officer who worked for years in military intelligence came forward as a whistleblower to reveal that the U.S. government has physical evidence of crashed non-human-made aircraft, as well as the bodies of the pilots who flew those aircraft. The Pentagon has spent decades studying these otherworldly remains in order to build more technologically advanced weapons systems. Okay, that's what the former intel officer revealed, and it was clear he was telling the truth. In other words, UFOs are actually real, and apparently so is extraterrestrial life. Now we know. In a normal country, this news would qualify as a bombshell, the story of the millennium. But in our country, it doesn't.
Spend enough time around Phoenix, Arizona, and you'll spot cars and vans cruising without anyone behind the wheel.
Arriving shortly.
But semi-trucks? They're the new frontier in driverless vehicles being tested right now.
How soon could it be before somebody looks up and doesn't see anybody in the driver's seat on one of these
Good question.
semis?
So we want to be fully self-driving within the next couple of years.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. This is not a news show. It's an opinion show. We encourage you to do your own research. We do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. Now enjoy the show.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. A lot of interesting stuff going on right now, and I'll tell you why I think these two things are related. 2 out of the 3, and I'll even have a nice transition. So I got Medusa here. Medusa is my trainer slash I guess I'm your Padawan, or am I a full-fledged knight and you're a master? Go with the sci-fi theme a little bit, you know, since we're going to be talking about aliens. My Jedi master, Medusa.
I think the student has become the master.
Nah, dude, if you'd seen my last couple of backups, you'd be like, yeah, you're going back to training.
Do I need to throw more cones at you again?
You do.
You miss it. I know you loved it.
I did.
Interesting.
So
interesting intro. You got a lot of good stuff going on. Well, not
thanks.
but
well, I mean, I used AI
You
to
know.
do a lot of this stuff, and I hate AI, so that's funny. You know, it's like I used AI, but I hate it. It's, you know, interesting place to be, right?
Right.
But yeah, I also like negative attention just about as much as positive attention. So I mean, it's just
You must be related to Trump.
no, I don't think Trump likes negative attention. He uses it.
I think he said he does. Any exposure on TV is good exposure. It keeps them in everybody's head.
Well, he gets real sensitive about it. He
does.
doesn't have a very thick skin for a guy that, you know, a guy that attracts so much negativity. He's got very thin skin. He seems very sensitive. And
I may have to disagree with you on that, because for as many years as he's been enduring this, and it's been going on for quite a long time, I think I probably would have already just exploded at this point, just went full on postal, because it's the stuff that's going on these days is just absolutely ridiculous. I can't even believe it. It's crazy.
well, it's because they turned on CERN and put us into clown world. So that's
CERN, HARP, whatever 3D holographic image printer that you
right.
Yeah, they got stuff going on that we don't even know about. Everything they are letting us become vaguely familiar with, they've already had it for like 50 years.
Well, here we are. Let's start with the fires, though. I wanted to start with the fires just for the reason that I was just in New Jersey, and it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I finally escaped New York, and it was very much like Escape from New York. And if anybody has ever driven a semi through the traffic of New York on the roads that we can actually go on. By the way, New York is ridiculously scary because you see bridges and it'll say 12-9, 13-4, but then it's
Yeah.
14-4 in the middle. And so you
Right.
better take that middle lane. Although I saw a bunch of people just as high as me, high as in height of the truck, going ahead in the other lanes. And I'm like, they're lying about that being 12-9.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, mostly because the infrastructure there is very old, and big trucks like we drive didn't really exist back then. So
I'm taking a guess to say that whenever it says 12-9, it's probably more like 13-3, and whenever our truck
Yep.
says 13-6, it's more like 13. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
That's my
No,
guess though. Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm going to anyway. I've went under bridges that were 13.5 very
Yeah, well,
slowly.
a new guy told me that he let the air out of his out of his trailer. What do you call them? I should know this off the
The
top of my
tandems?
head, but well, the little airbags in the tandems. Yeah, he let the air
Yeah.
out of the airbags in the tandems to go under a 13.5, and I'm
Oh,
like,
so he was dragging his tires.
I think he was a new guy, and I think he was just trying to tell a story.
Well,
You know
wait
how
a
that
minute.
goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
you go hang
Probably.
out where everybody's smoking cigarettes at the yard, and you get a lot of stories.
Yeah, because a pro would have went out there and just deflated all the tires, and then hurry up and got back in and drove through, and then let the auto inflates go ahead and pull them back up. That's how
Yeah,
you
but
do it.
a pro, I don't think a pro would have trusted the auto inflate though, because like to be a real pro, you can't just trust the auto inflate's gonna work every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Who
always.
knows?
Yeah, you can never trust anything all the time,
Right.
except for your wife. Yeah, you better trust your wife.
She's watching you right now, as is your dog that you better be trusting as well. Yeah.
He's right
So I
from me right now.
caught you at the beginning of your birthday home time.
You
And
did. I'm gonna have another
yeah,
birthday. I don't know how old I'm gonna be, but huh?
I don't know.
37?
Yeah.
Nola says I'm gonna be 37.
Well,
I
happy
wish.
37th early, my friend.
I'll go with 37. Thank you, honey.
Yeah. So anyway, sky was orange. And
Yeah.
and I've been seeing pictures today of New York City. I guess it floated that way, and
Right.
it's all orange in the sky there.
Was there a lot of people in the streets and stuff like that? Or did everybody go inside? Because I hear they're telling everybody get in.
Okay. Yeah, that's another thing is they're trying to talk about people wearing masks and things like that. And I think
Yeah.
that this might be the beginning of this is the beginning of a psyop with real destruction. But it looks like they're trying to bring back mask mandates and lockdowns. And so it's kind of like they're going to do some sort of climate lockdown because they're going to blame this all on climate. You know that they are. The way that I saw that the video that I showed in the beginning there, they all light up at once. And so is that coordinated? Is it possibly direct energy weapons? What do you think? And that was Canada, not New Jersey. New Jersey's also on fire, and probably several other places. But you know,
One thing comes to my mind right now is the pipeline, the Russian pipeline that was feeding into Canada, or not Canada, but Germany, and they exploded it, right?
Nord Stream 2, yeah.
So that explosive was actually planted like months ago. And if you go back into your history and you look during World War II, the Japanese were actually launching these incendiary devices on balloons, and what they wanted them to do is catch into the jet stream, which would take it over the ocean and then drop it down into California. They were calculating the buoyancy of the balloon, and they figured that if they put so much in here, by the time we got to California, it'd lose its buoyancy, and then these bombs would just basically drop into the forest, and they wanted to light up the entire West Coast with forest fires, just massive forest fires everywhere. So yeah, maybe direct energy weapons and stuff like that, but we just had a balloon flying over the country not that long ago. How many
Yeah,
of
and
them flew over?
they were over Canada as well. And
That's right. So how many flew over before they were actually noticed? Because they actually got discovered by sheer chance.
it was when we noticed. So whenever the public noticed this thing is whenever attention was called to it. I bet you we've had thousands of balloons roll over our heads and not even notice because they're so high up there you can't see them. And then there's the other agenda that this serves. If these are forests burning, so this serves the environmental blah blah blah, but it also, if it spreads to farmland or even just chokes out farmland as far as makes it inaccessible, then it serves the starving us agenda. And we all know that Justin Castro is a communist, and communists like to starve their populations. They always have and always will. That's just one of the things that they're going to try here, because they want us to eat the bugs. So you just invented a hum. I don't know what you did there, but whatever it was caused us to hum.
Are we humming still?
It's faded away. Okay, yeah.
It's our plug.
Ooh.
It's my harp.
Your harp. Anyway, so yeah, it serves the deplete us of food agenda, and if it's blocking roadways, it's also serving that.
I don't want to eat bugs, man. Some of those things have parasites in there, and they could really mess you up.
That's the whole thing. I don't know if you've been following me, but I've been talking to Rob Brisky over at the WTF forum, which is our own forum. That's like the WTF forum is the counter to the WEF. So we're the opposite. And so our counter forum, we talk about parasites and why they don't want you to take that drug that you can't say the name of on YouTube. You remember that drug that they wouldn't let you say the name of? Well, they didn't want you to take that because it would kill your parasites, which would make you not gay, because the parasites are making people gay. Long story, go check out the WTF forum.
It's kind of like Star Trek when they put that thing in their ear and they would make them go crazy. And now they're just saying, don't eat hamburgers, eat a bug. Wow.
Right.
I'm going to stick with hamburgers.
Yeah.
Although my waistline is telling me stop eating hamburgers.
Salty Cracker put it best. You get chickens to convert the bugs into food. So you feed the chickens off the bugs. The chickens lay eggs. Boom, you got food. So whenever you start getting your World Economic Forum rations, you just feed them to chickens, and the WEF is still feeding you. So everybody needs a chicken, and whenever they start coming through and they're like, you're hiding chickens under your floorboards, aren't you? Just say no, we have no chickens here. And if they say that it's a chicken, say that it identifies as like a trans person or something like that. This is a trans person that I'm allowing board here because they're tyrannical parents.
Say it's a furry.
Yeah, it's a furry. So
yeah, he says, "What was that?" He said, "What was?"
Dude, you're good at that. Okay. All right. So, yeah, it's weird that we got fires all breaking out at one time, and
it's highly suspicious, but that doesn't seem to mean anything anymore.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
I mean,
No, we're in
just
clown
flat
world now.
out just here. We're just going to do this, and whenever anybody questions it, we'll just deny,
Well,
deny. And if you get proof, we don't care about that either.
remember whenever myocarditis was a rare disease and now 5-year-olds are getting it? You remember whenever people just didn't randomly have regular strokes and just, and they didn't have to like put defibrillators in, they put defibrillators all over Vancouver,
Yeah,
just in case.
it probably has something to do with a lot of the fentanyl, but you know what? Who knows? I do remember back when I was a much younger man, my 8th grade teacher, Mr. Blank, his daughter, she was probably like 12 or something like that. She actually died from myocardial infarction. And nobody understood that because that was an old person's thing, But now it's quite common. It's happening.
Yeah. It's one in several thousand. It's very, very rare. Or it was until something happened and everybody started taking something at around the same time, and then we started seeing weird consequences from their actions.
Yeah, it's almost as if somebody's trying to reduce the population down or something like that.
Huh. Yeah, it's weird. It kind of serves a whole bunch of agendas that have been laid out for a couple hundred years. Like by the Club of Rome and groups like that.
We'll have to hear what Jamie Foxx says if he decides to come out.
Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. That's interesting. I hope that he lives to tell the tale. If
he does live,
he's in bad shape. Yeah.
I think he's going to live, but is he going to say anything, or is he going to keep mum? And I think most people are on the side of keeping mum. It's having your life, having somebody say that we're going to erase you. There's a lot of persuasion in that statement.
Yeah. So this is the real reason I brought you on.
Okay.
No, not that we haven't been planning this for months, but the UFO thing. I know you got a ton to say on this. Now, Tucker's reporting that this operative comes out and reports that, hey, we have dead aliens and spacecrafts and stuff, and we're reverse engineering it. Oh, okay, yeah, that's plausible and everything like that. But this Brad Binkley, I was just listening to on the propaganda report, is like, yeah, well, this guy, every single thing that this guy was allowed to say, he was allowed to say by the Department of Defense. They gave their own retort, which didn't, it wasn't super cuddly with what he said, but it also didn't. They let him say all of that stuff. So he was basically giving a military press release, and we should all understand that as what it is. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree as far as Dick Carlson, Tucker Carlson. Yeah. And we see that Tucker unleashed in the very first episode. We see Tucker, without the confines of Fox News, is still doing the work of the United States intelligence agencies.
You know what? You just said that, and I was thinking something like that. Now, here, I enjoy watching Tucker.
I love him too.
I do.
And I say that to every single person. We always talk about how Tucker's a Fed, but he's our Fed, and we love him. He tells a lot of truth in those things. They call it the truth sandwich, where you put, truth, BS, truth, however you do it. Maybe it's BS, truth, BS.
Well, I was kind of thinking that maybe the whole Fox thing and getting removed from Fox, because that was bullshit. We all know it was bullshit, okay? But they probably knew that him leaving Fox and then doing his own little thing on Twitter, okay? True, he got himself a little vacation time, which he didn't really take a whole lot of that anyway. But as far as your typical celeb does.
Yeah, he had about a month off.
Right.
And he's He's a working man. He's a professional. You know, like I guarantee you, he puts a lot of his heart into what he does.
Well, when he came back, he probably got triple the views that he got on Fox. What was he getting, like 2 million on Fox, something like that? And I think he's probably estimated to have anywhere between 4 and 6 on his Twitter, just on his first
Well,
video.
you're not counting all the views that Fox got off of posting Tucker videos. So I think he probably still got more attention on Fox.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right, because I was talking about the live segment. And I'm one of those guys that couldn't watch it live, so I was always watching them on YouTube or something like that.
Tons of people,
But,
people on both sides, you know, they at least want to see what he's saying. You know, whether they like him or not, they want to see what he's talking about, because he is one of the more trusted people up there. And really, like I said before, you know, his dad was a CIA propagandist. He was Voice of America, and so he's been groomed his entire life to do what he's doing now.
yeah.
But this to me is like a tip of the hat, a real signal to people like me who are, you know, like, I like Tucker, but I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna listen to him like he's my pastor. But it's a real, hey, I'm just letting you know
wise.
that I'm still
Pretty
tied
wise.
in. Yeah,
Because
he's still letting us know he's tied in.
That's where, well,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I was getting to. I like him. You like him. He's very popular. He says a lot of things that we want to say, yeah, yeah, yeah. So how messed up it's going to be if he's actually fake as well.
Well,
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah.
He is. But I mean, he's
No,
ours.
I mean, like totally fake. Like, well, right.
Yeah.
He's only ours because he says things that we agree with. But
yeah,
what if it's just more misdirection?
Oh, it very likely is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not our class. He's upper class. He's not working man class. He's he very likely sees us all as a bunch of rubes, and you know, and that's fine. I see him as a, you know, a stuck up rich boy. So, you know, we see each other, you know, on the same kind of way.
See each other on the playground, but you won't play tetherball together. Well, you know what? I mean, you were talking about the psyops and stuff like that earlier, and he just announced another segment about the UFOs, which I know that you have a few things to say about that. I know I do as well. But okay. You know, I think one of the things you talked about is to be another psyop.
Oh, definitely. That's why I said what I said before, was that that he was basically reading a Department of Defense press release whenever he mentioned this guy, and thinking that it should be massive news and everything like that. The funny thing about this is that they're using the right to do it. They're using the Republicans propagandizing them with the aliens are coming, the aliens are here. And I figured that they would use this psyop with the left, but I guess it's not going to go that way. You remember that Coachella? I think it was about 2016, where they had a hologram of Tupac come out on stage.
Yeah. And
they
Michael
can,
Jackson.
Yeah, they can do that with, you know, holographic projections in the sky and mess with us that way. It doesn't mean that some of the activity in the skies is not at all real, but I know we've known, like the conspiracy community has known since about that time, since about 2016 or 17 or so, about Project Bluebeam, and that it's that they're going to pull this trick. That this trick is coming. This was something that they were really grooming us for whenever we thought that Hillary was going to be president. They were setting this all up beforehand. They changed. I don't even remember what they changed the name of UFO to. We're still calling them UFOs. Okay, yeah. Well, they changed it right around that time, and so that was coming then.
Of words or changing the word completely. They just recently changed racist. It's no longer the original definition anymore.
Right. Because, well, whenever racist suddenly applied to me, I decided that I would become a proud racist. So I'm all set.
So, back to Tucker. I know he's talking about the UFOs and crash craft and bodies and all this other stuff. This is not the first time that he's talked about this. And if you listen to the old Bob Lazar videos, he's basically just saying the same thing that Bob Lazar said.
I remember the Bob Lazar video very well because I listened to the audio while you were training me. So that's kind of interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I was driving pretty similar to the drive I did yesterday, driving from Virginia into Tennessee. I can remember where I was whenever I heard something. It's a really weird thing, and it's probably going to mess up my brain one of these days just because I'm driving all over the place. And somebody will mention a show that I listen to, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I was driving to Nebraska whenever I heard that one." Yeah. So weird.
The temperature was 48 degrees that night. It was clear skies.
It was freaking raining so hard, and yeah, it's like that. Yeah,
there was 2 dogs on the side of the road humping. You got one of those photographic memories, huh?
In a bad way, but a lot of it ties to audible things. It's just like that. I don't know.
Yeah. You just make sure that if you ever decide to get married, tell your wife, don't talk to me while we're having our time together, because you don't want to go into another world and freak her out. So
I could get her to say my keywords, the ones that activate me.
Oh.
You remember the shooter?
I got some of those. My wife won't tell me them no more.
You remember the shooter in DC, the DC sniper, right after 9/11? It happened right around then.
Vaguely, the one that stands out the most is the Georgia snipers. I remember them.
Okay, well, there's this DC sniper, and James Evan Pilato always reminds us of this, but the cop got on TV, and then he said something along the lines of, "Why don't you pass the time by playing a game of solitaire?" And the guy turned himself in a few hours later. So they have these little keywords to rein in their little MK Ultra brain people.
Okay, the Manchurian Candidate. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that was from, I can't remember exactly, but just listen to Media Monarchy all the time, and you'll hear James talk about it. That's what I do.
Sounds like some more alien stuff. So
you think really doesn't talk about it much. I think that there's things that we don't know, we don't understand, that may not have earthly origin, but I don't really buy into another planet. I'm more on the Alex Jones side of saying that they're interdimensional, and they may have craft of some sort that we don't understand, because these are the same people that influence the cultures that built the massive structures in Egypt, for instance. And they had technology then that could build massive structures and technology that we don't understand. And they probably utilize craft to do that. But I think that they're from here. Just another dimension of Earth. This Earth realm.
I haven't. I don't listen to Alex mostly because his voice is like nails on a chalkboard to me. I know that he says some good stuff, but I can't get past it, and the message doesn't go in. So I have to listen.
It's funny.
That work for him, but you said you don't really subscribe to the idea of other planets. The universe is. I mean, we have planets around us right now. Why would you say you don't believe in other planets?
Life from other planets? I don't think getting out here and everything like that. And then and also there's there's a lot of interesting theories as far as that goes, and that, you know, most of what's up there is possibly not what we think it is. So that they're actual entities, or that they're plasma, or that, you know, or that they're even within our what we perceive as the atmosphere. A lot of things. And you know what? I know it's kooky and whatever, but there's no freaking way for us to know at our level. We don't have the money, we don't have the technology to go and chase those kinds of things down. And so on that, I'm just like, okay, well, that's interesting, and I like that idea or whatever, but I'm not going to fully subscribe to any of them.
Well, you really can't fully subscribe to it, but you know, with the Hubble telescope and things like that, they have discovered many, or what they say, they have discovered many, many, many Earth-type planets that exist inside the habitable zone, the Goldilocks zone.
Well,
one of them
yeah,
being
it's
a
also,
super Earth, which is supposed to be like 100 times bigger than our Earth. You know, that's and I think the reason why they think that they know what it is it's kind of like reading a gas spectrum or something like that. They've got some kind of way where they're taking measurements. I mean, how else would they know that the surface of the sun is like 10,000 degrees?
they don't. And they said that they took a scoop of the sun, like about a year ago. They were talking about sending some kind of probe that went out and took an ice cream scooper and scooped up a little bit of the sun for them to analyze. Now that's insane to me, and based off of everything that they had taught me before, which could all be ridiculous, that the sun would be too hot for any kind of metal probe to go scooping off of it. It would just melt immediately. And so I think, I mean, there's been these people have lied to us about so many things. Before the show, you and I were talking about the moon, and and I think that was a huge psyop, you know. And in fact, I was just listening to Pete Quinones and Mark Claire talking about the moon psyop when they were talking about 5 things that are psyops that most people believe are true. There's so many things about that don't add up. And I mean, if you want to hear those, you could tune into that show or listen to Owen Benjamin just about any day, because he's always on about it.
Well, you know, they always say that there is a little, even in your lie, there's always a bit of truth into it. Because if you are telling a lie, you have to put enough truth into it to make it believable. You know?
Yeah, that's the truth sandwich, that concept that I was just talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe they did use an ice cream scooper. I don't know. But I never heard that before. And so now I'm going to have to look this up, because I've never heard of them scooping anything off the surface of the sun. And who says there's a surface there anyway?
These are the same kind of people that have been telling us for years that there's you know, that the ocean is gonna just flood us all in a few years because the deglaciation.
That was all the
yeah, but I mean, it's the same type of fear mongering that comes from groups like NASA, you know.
True. Well, and then you got your peddlers of it too, because Al Gore doesn't talk about it anymore, so AOC picked up.
No, Al Gore was just a couple months ago screaming about the oceans boiling. The oceans are boiling, he said. I have not even seen bubbles going on. It's not even, you know, slow boiling. It's not boiling.
I was just by the ocean a little while ago, and I didn't see nothing. I didn't smell any baked Alaska or nothing like that. It was
right.
It seemed to be fun to me. My son's in the Navy. He hasn't told me anything. So,
shout out real quick to OG Dadbot in the chat. Funny, you were talking about how Alex Jones' voice grates on you. OG Dadbot and I were talking the other day, and he said we both share a thing that Alex Jones kind of lulls us to sleep, because I used to listen to Alex Jones every day back in 2003 or so. 2003, 2004, and I would fall asleep to him. And I've found that it still works, that I can still start an Alex Jones episode and then he goes on to a commercial, and then I wake up 6 or 7 hours later, getting smarter in my sleep. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, that doesn't work, because I used to do that in college. I'd listen to Rush Limbaugh, thinking, "Oh, I'm so smart, yeah, driving my little Volkswagen Bug. Yeah, looking at me. I'm in college, and I'm listening to Rush Limbaugh, and then go into class and get a D or something." It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's and osmosis doesn't work either. If you sleep on the book, the words don't just penetrate your skull. That doesn't happen either. I tried that one too. So,
I tried to sleep while you were training me. It didn't work.
I know. Hey,
so tell me your UFO stories, because I know you got some real ones.
I actually do, and they're not. You'll never see it on the Sci-Fi Channel or nothing like that. It's not extravagant, but they're very curious. The most lame one would be, I was in the Navy, and I was going to Virginia, and I was cutting through Palm Springs area, and as I was driving, I saw this gigantic silver, looked like maybe a balloon or something like that, and it was a few hundred feet up off the ground, so it wasn't like an aerial or nothing like that, something tied to it. It wasn't anything like that. And the sun was hitting it, and it was just brilliant. And I'm driving. I should have pulled over, but I was in a big hurry to get to the East Coast, and I kept looking at it, It did not move. Not at all. And I got my eyes back up on the road, and when I looked over again, it was gone. Now, the funny thing about that is that I was talking to my son's wife, and we were having a conversation, and UFOs came up and stuff like that. She saw the exact same thing. And I never talked to her about it, but she described everything that I had saw. It was just like a 30-year difference between the two of us, as far as what she saw. So, I mean, that was, whatever. Now, I had another one in Lake Michigan. And I was in the Navy, and I had a girlfriend, and we snuck out of the barracks. She snuck out of the girls, I snuck out of the guys, and we went through the officers' housing area, and we wanted to go out to the beach, to watch the submarine races and stuff like that. And we're out there, we're laying on the beach, and we're doing our thing, right? And we take a break for a minute, and I look out over the water of Lake Michigan, and there's a formation of lights. There's a big one in the middle, and then there's two here, and then two on the outside. And I'm thinking it's like a squadron of helicopters. And by the way the V was, they were coming right at us. Now, they got big lights, and we're not supposed to be out on the beach, so she and I are watching it for a while, thinking, if these guys get any closer, we're going to have to scramble or something like that, so Shore Patrol don't come and get us, and, we're going to get in trouble. We were kids. That's what we were thinking. So I looked again, and there was like a red light, like a laser pointer, right? But you didn't see the whole laser, just a red dot. And the red dot went out, and it went to each of the other white dots, and then it went back to the middle one, and it went away. That was the part that really kind of got me. I was like, what the hell is this? This doesn't make any sense at all.
It's them aliens. They're messing with you with the laser pointer, and they think you're like a cat.
They thought I was a cat. Well, you didn't hear no rotor wash. Didn't hear. I mean, it was quiet out there, and sound travels over water really well. We didn't hear a damn thing, And we sat there and we watched it, kept watching it, and finally we got bored of watching it. Decided we were going to go back to doing what we were doing before, and I had my back to the water, and I was like, what the hell was that? And I turned around again to look, and they were all gone. Now you could say that somebody just turned out the lights and stuff like that, but you're not allowed to do that. Aircraft are not allowed to go black,
right,
like that.
What do you think about this though? Most of the sightings, almost all of the sightings in the world, have taken place in westernized countries, mostly America and mostly England and Europe and Japan to an extent, but mostly I guess so. But I think it's something to do with culture because, and they almost always occur around military bases as well. It's always a high number in the military bases areas. But people in Africa, I mean, they have been reported in Africa, but they're very few, for instance, and very few like out in the Middle East and all these places you wouldn't want to be. But the aliens, I guess, don't want to be there either, or maybe there's just something culturally up with it.
Well, as far as where you were coming from, I would believe that they, if I was them and I had all the advancements that I had and I was studying this rock with all these little critters running around it and stuff like that, when I realized that they were weaponized, and they're all killing each other and stuff like that. I mean, well, damn, they're all killing each other. We better be careful. I would want to know what their weaponry was like. And as far as where you're coming from, they're studying the nuclear arsenals.
Okay.
And there's been stories of where they actually went and shut them down. And then there's other stories of missiles being launched and shooting a light, three pulses of light, and then the missile explodes. But outside of that, those countries and stuff, and I think it was New Zealand. There's a story of a craft that actually landed, and I think it was in New Zealand, and it approached a bunch of school children, and there's lots of them, and they're. I gotta look it up because I heard that they were doing kind of like a reunion of all these kids who are now adults, and to this very day, they all still swear that it was real. It wasn't that they just saw a craft; the thing landed, creatures came out and approached the kids and stuff like that. There was some adults that were there too, teachers, the art duty teacher and things like that. But to this very day, it affected every single one of them. And when I find the link to that, I will send that to you because I haven't really even thought about it until we started having this conversation just now.
Fair enough.
But that's where I was going earlier when you said, believe in the planets and stuff like that, because I do believe that there's life out there, and it would be insane to believe that there isn't. It's like people that play the lottery. The chances of you winning are really small, but people play anyway because there's a chance that they may win.
That's also based off of you believing that the universe is vast and expansive. If you believe that the universe, at least as we know it, is small and localized to Earth, then it's a different thought process. It's just a different paradigm of thinking of it in.
I understand that. I'm gonna go with the vast and expansive. Even our moon. Okay, our moon pulls away from us like 2 inches a year, almost 2 inches. There's gonna be one day where there won't be a moon in the sky.
Possibly. Oh, we won't live to see that.
Well, right. I mean, we can't It's like 1.2, I think, that it pulls away. Now, will it pull away? I don't think it will entirely altogether. I just saw an experiment where they had this model set up on the computer. They took all the planets and moved them into Earth's orbit, all of them. And they stayed there for a while. Within a few hours, they all started moving back out. So there's like a, God, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a dynamic that exists, just like your body exists in a status that's suitable for you. You drink a lot, right? Like water and stuff like that. I don't. I hate water. I don't drink water hardly at all. If you see me drinking water, I'm like really dehydrated. But as a general rule, I don't drink it, and my body is fine that way. And
hey, real quick, if you're an amateur trucker, this is sage advice from Medusa. Don't drink anything while you drive, or you won't have to pee and lose money.
or wear shorts and carry a bottle.
We don't do that.
No, we don't. But
it never happens.
on the opposite side of that, so I have that belief, but on the opposite side of that, I actually met John Glenn, or not John, gosh darn it,
Yuri
Young,
Yuri Gregorius,
Richard Young, I think his name was. Well, his last name was Young.
Okay.
Now he was one of the commanders of the pilots. He was the pilot for the lunar orbiter, right? Supposedly. And I saw him at a prayer breakfast. And after it was all over, I went up to him and, hey, can you sign my book? Blah, 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 blah. And then I was selling cars at the time. And one of the tricks that they teach you is catch your customer pleasantly off guard. So I'm being all pleasant to him and stuff like that. And then I said, hey, how did you guys manage the 3 rules of radiation? And he's like, what? I go, the 3 rules of radiation: time, distance, and shielding. How did you do that? Because, I mean, there was no distance. You guys were in the middle of the Van Allen belt. There's no shielding. If you ever seen a model or actually seen the capsule that they were in, it was basically a Bud Light can. There was, and the computing power, we got more computing power in our phones now than they did in the entire thing. All of it.
Oh, yeah. Remember how they lost all their telemetry? We go back to the moon, but we don't know how. We lost all the telemetry. We taped over all the tapes and lost, data that was just printed in stacks and stacks and stacks. They lost it all. They're liars. But
well, yeah, and I think they've all been sworn that way, because it's like, you are going to carry this to the grave, and if you don't, even if you're dead, we're gonna get the rest of your family or something like that. They're doing everything they can to hush these people up. But he eventually said, "Oh, well, I guess it's time." Went through it so fast. That's not really viable. The radiation there is extremely high, and they were basically bathing in it. So that doesn't make a lot of sense.
But wait a minute. What if the Van Allen belt is actually a psyop too? The radiation belt's a psyop, and that was just said so that they could fool the rest of the countries that were in the space race into thinking that they would come across that difficulty. And
yeah, but it's
whatever.
not a new thing. I have a hard time believing that, because it's not a new thing. This has been known for a very long time, and there was a point in time when your government was actually trustworthy. Teachers actually taught you the things that were real and relevant. I mean, the further you go back in our history, the smarter people were. That's just a fact. You can't say that we're smart just because we can figure stuff out on a phone or something like that. These people did it in their head, you know. I still remember the phone number for my best friend back when I was a little kid. 209-723-5168. You know, it's like I remember those things. That's what we had to do. We had to remember that stuff.
I still remember
867-5309.
That's
cheating.
Tommy Two-Tone, for you young people, Tommy Two-Tone had a one-hit wonder called 867-5309. That was the song of the girl that captured his heart, and he decided to make a song out of it that everybody would memorize, so they all knew his girlfriend's phone number. That's such a bad idea. Just
somebody actually really did have that phone number at one time, and they got really pissed off about that. But here's round 2 on the John Glenn story. It's John Glenn, not John Glenn. I said it again. Young. The guy's last name is Young. So anyway, I went up, got back in line, and I came up to him again. And I don't know why the guy didn't recognize me, but he you know, I just said, hey, you already signed my book. I just really got one more question. And he was like, sure. I go, are we alone? And he went like this. I mean, I caught him pleasantly off guard. And when he did that, you could see his eyes just kind of zoned out. And he went to another place. You know, he went to a memory. And he came back. He goes, you know, kind of disheveled. Yeah, I think so. And I just said, but that's the most depressing thing I've ever heard. And I walked away.
Well, I mean, if you were at a prayer meeting, you know, he could have said, obviously we're not, and then gestured toward the cross, you know. But he didn't even go there, so you caught him off guard for real. You know? So
there's a segue for what you were talking about earlier about the pyramids and all these other things and stuff like that. You know, you look at Cydonia on Mars, and that's a dead planet now. Supposedly soil samples were taken from that, and the entire planet's irradiated from a nuclear war because there's a signature on that. A guy got a sample of it, and he took it to an independent guy, didn't tell him anything about it. And he goes, oh, these guys got glassed. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, wherever you got this from, there was a nuclear detonation. You know, so who's to say that since we seem to be so different from everything else that lives on this planet, who's to say that we aren't kind of like the Superman where we had a few people get into some capsules and fly over here and repopulate it? By the way, they took the space capsules to cover their tracks. They took their space capsules, put them on conveyor belts, and dropped them into a volcano.
That's the solution for everything. Yeah.
Inside joke, folks.
We can tell it. So Medusa here believes that the solution to trash is to put it all on conveyor belts that drop into a volcano.
Yeah. Bodies too. Now we could do bodies.
Oh yeah. That's instead of composting them with hydrocremation, which is disgusting. And yes, they will likely put this stuff on your food. And from my understanding, the metals inside a human will make the ground not grow, even though they do intend to use it as fertilizer.
What if that is the catalyst to the zombie apocalypse?
It's the catalyst to prion diseases, and prion diseases could make people act crazy.
Yeah, kind of like mad cow disease. If you grind up other cows and you feed it to them, they go nuts, right? They used to do that to chickens too. Chickens get all like that. So if you take the people and you liquefy them and you put them into a sports drink, zombie apocalypse.
I'm not going out that way.
Why not? You may eat bugs.
I'm not going out that way either.
That's why I don't drink water. You ain't getting me.
He's not gonna drink the water. Well, you won't turn gay because you won't get the atrazine that the frogs are getting. So,
I'm not going to turn gay because I just don't understand how anybody can find love in a smelly asshole. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. It's like, it doesn't make sense.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't make
to me,
sense.
It doesn't.
So,
some people were there.
Yeah.
I've actually known people that were doing that stuff, and it's like, you go do you, or whoever it is you're doing. But just don't even talk to me about it. It gives me the willies.
Hey, it's June. That's all you're gonna hear about this month.
Yeah, I actually got banned for something like that.
Yeah, let's be careful just in case anybody recognizes us.
Yeah, because we're superstars. We're so popular.
We are.
Hey, but you know what? I had one other guy that was involved with the space missions also. He was at the car dealership. He came in. This guy stood out. He looked like a man out of time. The whole family came in, like 9 of them. But I locked right onto this guy. He looked like he walked right out of like 1920. The suit, the fedora, wearing a tie. Old man, looked
Man
sharp.
in black.
Looked sharp. He was wearing black, but that's what men wore back then. Every man had a suit, and they wore their suits to work. They wore them with pride. Suits looked good, right? Well, we should go back to that, by the way.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about just dressing snappy all the time. I know it's going to be weird
on a
driving
truck.
Yeah. I know it's going to be weird. We wear like sandals and basketball shorts and all the other nonsense that us slobbish truckers wear. But what if we just started being dapper AF? What do you think?
Well, it is Pride Month.
Wow. Okay, so he's dressed real nice.
Yeah, he is dressed real nice, and the granddaughter started telling me about him and how he used to work on the Apollo missions, and I was like, really? And we started talking to him, and they went out to go look at cars. I didn't care anymore. Forget the sale. I want to talk to this guy. I was like, yeah, go ahead. I gave him the keys and told him go ahead and drive it. Well, me and him kept going on, and I told him, I said, do you really think we went to the moon? And he's like, well, yeah, of course we did. I was like, oh, okay. He goes, you don't think so? And I said, there's reasons to believe that we did. And at the end of the day, nobody could really prove it one way or the other. He said, well, what do you mean? And then I explained to him a few other things. And he said, well, why would they do that? I go, well, at that time, we had to prove that we were technologically more superior than Russia. They had already put Sputnik up and everything else like that. And he's like, huh. Well, they left. They didn't buy the car. But they came back like 2 weeks later, and it was just the granddaughter and him. And she goes, he wanted to talk to you. And I was like, okay. He pulls me over, sits me down by this table. He goes, after talking to you, I went home, opened up my safe, pulled out these old top secret documents, which are now declassified. They don't mean anything anymore. He goes, but this is what I was working on. He pulls out this paper and he starts drawing this schematic of all these things. And he goes, this thing right here is absolutely perfect. It will do exactly what it was designed to do. He goes, but that's only on Earth. He goes, in space, this thing is garbage. And he crumpled up the paper and he threw it in the trash can. He said, I got to thank you because I've spent my entire life believing this. And now I question, did we? So I stimulated the mind of an engineering physicist, man.
That's beautiful.
I know.
Yeah.
Love that.
Love it. That's a great story.
I really wish I could have got a hold of him some more because he's an old man. I would have loved to sat on a park bench with a gigantic loaf of French bread and just sat there and fed the ducks and listened to him talk. I never got the opportunity to. It's Dr. Pribble, Pribl, Bil.
Don't dox him. Get him in trouble. I'm sure he's not around anymore.
Yeah, he's long dead.
Well, on to we were talking about Tucker earlier, and and Tucker got into it with little Ben Shapiro and his tiny hat about replacing truckers with robots, and
yes,
you have an intra-company radio show, and yep. I like to join you here and there if I'm not sleeping. But one night I joined you and we talked about autonomous vehicles and how they may or may not replace us. Let's start with your thoughts and then we'll go to mine.
It will happen. I don't think it's going to happen anytime really soon. Although I did just watch a news segment on it where you had it there, and the guy says plan on it within a couple of years.
That was a year-old clip, by the way.
So I will tell you this, that I know they just did testing out of Texas because I was there in Dallas, and it's happening. Now, are they going to take our jobs? I don't know if they're going to take our jobs, because even though these things can predominantly work on their own, you're still going to have a person in it. And as long as they stay with natural fuel, it may not be that bad of a thing, but I can pretty much guarantee that if that does go around, that the pay for truck drivers is going to drop dramatically. Because at that point, you're basically just like a rent-a-cop. You're not really a truck driver anymore. You're a passenger at that point in time. My biggest problem with it is that I don't think that they're going to be able to, at least not in the beginning. I don't think they're going to behave very well during things such as ice and snow.
I agree with you. I have a pushback on that. I think, first of all, I think that they're probably going to end up doing the local deliveries. So we'll end up still trucking, at least to the extent of we'll probably be, steering wheel holders, which we pretty much already are in a lot of capacities. Talking to the old school truckers that have the clutch and all that other stuff. We're just steering wheel holders to these old school guys, Yeah. But the truck does drive itself in a lot more ways than it used to. It'll give you warnings that you're too close to another vehicle or that you're slipping out the lane or anything like that. So I think that tech will change as far as drivers go to make it much, much easier. They can't really justify all these third worlders that they're importing and to do our job at this point, especially with this coming up. And that goes against an agenda that they have. They have a huge agenda to import third worlders, and that's why there's never enough truckers. And here we are. We're sometimes sitting for a day or two waiting for a load. But they still can justify that.
Yeah. Well, considering that truck drivers are the blood that pumps through the veins of the United States and keeps everything going, it's better to have more than less. Better to have a body in the seat, keeping things moving. However,
if there's freight moving,
but I mean, I've had customers flat out cancel. Thank God I'm not a Bud Light delivery driver. Those guys I feel bad for those guys. they're not. They're losing their asses off. But yeah, the third worlders that are coming in, and that's when I was talking about the prices or the salary for drivers dropping. You know, a lot of these people will work for a whole lot less money, and if the vehicle pretty much operates on itself, then you just basically have to have somebody in there to call somebody and talk and say, hey, this is going on, because some of the people that I have had, they come from places that don't even have pavement on the roads. It's dirt. You know, no lines, no signs, nothing like that. But
At some point, we'll be
here.
going to the third world just to work. You and me will be having to go to the third world countries to do this.
They took our jobs! They took our jobs!
Yeah, so we'll have to go to the third world and take their jobs. And that's how we survive this horrible future.
Hey, they got great pina coladas and stuff like that. So yeah, Mai Tais, nice beaches and stuff like that. Yeah, we could switch sides. I'll be all right with that. Because once everything over here gets trashed, they're going to want us to come back and rebuild. So who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
You know, since
I like the idea of sunsets on the beach, drinking a Mai Tai.
yeah, that sounds pretty good. But I mean, if you're in one of those coastal places, probably an island, and there's not much driving to be had in places like that.
Yeah, well, I'm not even talking about driving then anymore. You know what? Put me on Gilligan's Island. I'll be fine. Dibs on Marianne.
Fair enough.
Ginger's a bitch.
She's a little stuck up, yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I'm not buying all that makeup either. Not with my coconuts. So, yeah, go ahead.
The one thing everybody always talks about, and they seem to think that the GPS can't figure it out. And I think, yeah, your GPS and your truck right now can't figure it out. But these things are all tuned by satellites, and also at some point they will be able to communicate with each other. So you're not going to hit something that you're actively talking to. If a car is talking to another car, then it's not going to. Yeah,
it's the hive mentality, so to speak.
Yep.
But you know what? How are these things? Because like our GPSs right now, if there's construction on the road and stuff like that, and your GPS is still telling you to turn and take that exit, even though it says road closed, the autonomous truck is going to go right through that. Possibly, I don't know. I'm sure they've thought about this. Okay. But the reason why your GPS will still tell you to take that turn is the state is required to report that information, and it's supposed to automatically upload. Right. You know,
yeah, my GPS screams at me on
not do that.
On Nebraska too. My GPS just screams at me because it seems to think that I'm in the middle of somebody's farm. But yeah. But no, they eminent domain that, and I'm on the highway. Sorry. It's so nice now. Have you been Nebraska too lately?
I think about 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's so nice now. It's amazing. Yeah,
it does. It smells better too. Because if people don't remember, Nebraska flooded. Crazy. I mean, you don't think about floods up there. You usually think about floods further down south. That place flooded. Boy, it stunk for a long time.
It's still kind of swampy over there by the Sapp brothers in Iowa, on the Iowa side, right there.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, there's still a little swampiness over by the river there.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it got wet again. It was okay when I was there because I stopped at the Sapp brothers. I did. Goodbye.
I love Sapp brothers. Apple Barrel is the best diner on the road.
Oh, isn't it? It is Apple Barrel, yeah.
Yeah. It's better than an Applebee's, and it's better than a Cracker Barrel. It's the Apple Barrel.
Yeah,
I'm about it.
These are pretty nice too. to give me an extra big scoop of ice cream for my apple pie. Heat it up.
It's a great place. And then you can also, if you get to be one of these really fat truckers, you can get like 7 XLs in Sap Brothers.
Wow.
Have you seen that? They have have the multiple XLs there.
Sounds like you
Like,
have a goal.
if you well, if you're ever, like I need a blanket, you could just buy a T-shirt from Sap Brothers and be all set.
Oh God. Oh.
Yeah, gotcha.
Wow, yeah, you got me on that one. That's fine.
Well, hey, you just got back
like
home.
I said, as long as I stay with diesel fuel, I can support that. It's not going to affect us in our lifetime.
They're not doing battery.
Anyway, but if the
batteries won't work. The battery's a big money pit. It's going to fail.
California mandated that 25% of the vehicles in trucking fleets, if you have X whatever, 25% have to be all electric. Okay, so super carriers are going to be pretty much just fine. They'll be okay. It's going to hurt, but they'll do it. Any company that's got like 50 trucks or less, they're going to fold. So if you're worried about freight, it's coming in 2030 because there's going to be a whole lot less competition out there moving, a whole lot less trucks on the road.
But then you got to deal with California laws. Then you got to
What?
deal with the California laws because California is just lining up their site with their foot and taking a shot. They do that all the time, but you
think people would learn their lesson. I mean, with the what was that? Their rail system, their railroad. That thing never got in the bridge to nowhere. I mean,
that railroad made a lot of money for Paul Pelosi though. So.
Yeah, of course it did. And that guy with the hammer,
David DePepe. He was getting hammered that night.
Yeah, he sure was. It's hammer time.
He's getting hammered with his friend.
Oh.
All right, well, you're on home time. Let me let you get back to your life. And thanks for joining me again, Medusa.
Yeah, I got to go pet my wife and scratch my dog, man. Hey, it was fun. Thank you so much. Please send me a link so that I can share with other people. And anybody watching this program, tell people about Burn Babylon Burn. This is my good friend Ando, and I wish you all success.
Thanks. You as well. Appreciate you, man.
Take care, buddy.
You too.